I think mobile phone users should be concerned. I think we should all be concerned about the amount of data that's being stored, kept by governments, telecommunications companies, the ability to track individuals and pinpoint their exact location on a map. These are all very alarming realities of our world today, and I think that but again, I think there are tools and solutions that can help us be more secure and that can combat some of these issues and the issues of privacy and security that come along with them. Certainly for Tibetans living in Tibet, for Tibetans or frontline activists anywhere, especially living under authoritarian regimes, these challenges are sometimes a matter of life and death or life and freedom. People can end up in prison and tortured, and they've lost their liberty because they're being so well surveilled through their own mobile phone that's in their pocket, that's in the meetings with them when they're doing their work to advance human rights and democracy. I think the key with all of this is basic user education. I think we've seen it in the Tibetan community, we've seen it in our own networks. People have to just know what the stakes are, they have to understand how the technology is being used, and then they can make decisions to, for example, sometimes leave your mobile phone at home when you're going to do something, to have a meeting, to meet up with someone that you don't want to be traced or linked together. That's, one simple little piece of, user or mobile phone user knowledge or education that we know has helped people in our networks. I think at another level, of course, governments and corporations have the responsibility and the obligation to put in place protections that will, at least in free societies, not allow people to be easily tracked and to be spied on and to be, to have their habits so easily documented by corporations and private entities and then governments and law enforcement. I think there are obvious solutions, and there are there's great concerns, but there are easy ways for us to protect ourselves and to protect our communities. We just have to prioritize these issues now, and we have to alert people to the problem. Certainly in the Tibetan context, the Chinese authorities, together with Chinese corporations, telecommunications companies, they've integrated the ability to spy on citizens, Chinese citizens, Tibetans, Uyghurs, others living, under that repressive regime. They have, integrated the ability to spy on people. It's into the technology, it's into the networks. It's very easy for them to do. And at this point, if the Chinese authorities want to, they can track any citizen right from the point that you cannot, you're not supposed to be able to even get a SIM card or get a data connection without giving forth your real identity and all of your personal information. I would absolutely say that, China today, occupied Tibet, is a surveillance state, and one where people's everyday lives are, almost every movement is captured or recorded or can be, can be later looked up and investigated. There are absolutely ways to protect oneself against surveillance. And if people say that there's really no solution that works completely, I think they're probably right, but it's layers of solutions that will help one overall avoid surveillance. Certainly as a Tibetan activist, as someone who is targeted in my everyday life with online attacks, with attacks on my mobile phone, I know that at this point there are a number of tools and solutions that are available to me to help make me more secure. And it's as simple as covering up the camera on my computer. And what I'm doing, one simple action that's not a technologically advanced solution, but it's one simple action that, because I know that camera can be turned on remotely, by putting a cover over top of it, I am controlling when or how or who might be able to watch me and to watch my activities. And the fact that I know that is because I do this work. And what we want is for other people, for average people, not just Tibetan activists, but for the average global citizen who's online, we want people to know that this potential exists for surveillance in your home and in your bedroom and in your private life, in your office, and that there is a way to layer protections on so that the likelihood that you will be surveilled goes way down. Yeah, I know of many attacks on websites and people, online attacks on Tibetans and Tibetan websites in India. I also know that online attacks against the Indian defense community and Indian government officials and Tibetan government officials. We saw these exposed through and tracked and reported on through the GhostNet report in 2009. I think a lot of people in the Tibetan world, we take it for granted at this point that people more broadly know that there are these attacks going on, that a lot of them seem to originate in China and that they're pervasive and they're persistent. These kind of attacks are costly for us in the sense of the time and resources it takes to fight them. But at the same time, there are simple things that organizations, that individuals can do. And I think that the Indian government and public policy in India could address these attacks in ways that would help protect the average citizen, that would help protect civil society organizations, and of course we certainly assume and hope the highest levels of the Indian government, because fundamentally these attacks undermine all of our security. One thing that we have found in our work with Tibetan community and Tibetan exile activists and Tibetans inside Tibet is that public education, broad-scale public awareness campaigns on digital security, that these are critical to addressing the pervasive online attacks and the cyber espionage that we're seeing everywhere and we're hearing about in the news, that public education and awareness campaigns are critical at the grassroots level to help empower the citizen, to help empower the end user, the activist, to protect themselves. And I think oftentimes people in the technical world or in the policy world, or maybe geeks in general, they aren't convinced that the public can be trained, the public, the end user will actually in the end be able to make the right decisions to protect themselves online. But I think what we see in our work is that over time, if you make an investment in people and in citizens to have the knowledge of how the online attacks or how digital security affects them and what they can do, if you speak to them in plain language and give people solutions, over time, people can change their behaviors and make themselves more secure or more resistant to attacks. In authoritarian states, or in this case in Tibet, I think that every person that we can teach and pass knowledge to that can help them stay out of jail, stay in the streets 1, 2, 3 days longer, 1 week longer, that is a valuable use of time and resources. And I think we cannot rely on only tools and sort of technology solutions to protect people. I think we can't just rely on government policy at the highest levels and export controls and all. The approach to digital security has to be comprehensive, and we have to engage citizens, and not just in cases like the Tibetan example, for activists or for people living under repression, but for people in free and open societies too. I think these are some of the strategies that we can engage in out in the light of day, where we empower citizens, as opposed to what some of these authoritarian regimes, who are the source of a lot of these attacks, are trying to do, which is to disempower people and to monitor them and to not allow them to have control over their own lives and the tools in their hands.